I was born in 1921, and by the time I was 8 or 9 years old, we had a depression. And once we had the depression, things took it in a different twist than normal. You were very cautious about what money is spent because you didn't have any money in the first place. And I came from a family that were wonderful people, but my dad was not really a good businessman. He's a wonderful dad and marvelous father and a sweetest man in the world, and a wonderful grandfather and a wonderful great-grandfather and all those things. But he was not a successful businessman. Anyway, so we were a generation that lived in Depression, and right out of Depression, we all went into World War II. We came out of World War II, and I think this is true. A lot of us, we had great aspirations. I was in the Navy for 5 years. I said, how am I going to make a living? And I want to really make a living. I really want to move into a different end of life. I met Arlene, and she was beautiful and lovely, and we hit it off right away. And we met in October and November, and we got engaged in January, and we got married in June. And we've been married 65 years. I think it's pretty good. And I met my friend Lou Kahnweiler, who I'd known in school, and he said, I'm going to law school in the spring, in the summer, fall, rather. And I'm working in the industrial real estate business. I said, what's that? He says, well, I sell factories to people. I said, well, that's a good idea. Because if you sell factories to the president, maybe I can get a job in labor relations. So I tried to do this as intelligent as possible. I looked up Who's Who and found out there were 3 people in Chicago that appeared in Who's Who in America. And I went to see all 3 of them. And the third one was William Hart. And he was the kingpin of them all. That's why I saved him for last. And he looked at me, he says, you know something? And I was still wearing my Navy uniform, so he was impressed. He says, my son was supposed to come back here and take over the business, but he's not around. He went to work for the Indian reservation people, and I'd like to get a young guy with me because all of us are pretty old. He was 65, and the rest of them looked like they were 102. So I went to work, and it was a lot of fun, but I had lunch every day with Lou Kahnweiler. After a year, we said we're going to run business for ourselves. We took Centex, we put 1,500 buildings and 2,500 acres at the western edge of O'Hare International Airport. It was the largest park, 2 miles by 3 miles, 2,500 acres, almost 9 square miles, into an industrial park where we had hotels, we had restaurants, we had daycare operation, we had all these various things, and it was extremely successful. After the 3rd year, we were making a deal a week, and our owners, as I told you before, were Clint Murkison out of Dallas and the Pritzker family in Chicago. And A.M. Pritzker would go to Wall Street and he says, we're making a deal a week here. And of course, they got everybody excited, and we got all kinds of references. So as a result, we started building in 8 states. Some were good, some were bad. Denver was the best example, where Samsonite luggage came to us and said, you have 600 acres, we want to take 100 acres, we don't want to pay you a nickel more than you're paying. I said, you want me to sell land at my cost? He says, yeah. He said, but I'll tell you what, we're we're going to have 40 to 60 suppliers who build all around us and buy it at retail. It was the smartest thing we ever did. We sold the thing out in 4 years. You never take 600 acres out and sell in 4 years. As a result, the Union Pacific came along and wanted to buy our company. I didn't want to sell the company, but I thought it was a very nice thing because they were across the street and they had 2 deals and we had maybe 40 or 50 of them. So it turned out very pleasantly. The truth of the matter is that I wasn't very economically well off, and I wanted to make something of myself. I mean, that's part of being an American citizen. I had a drive to become successful. But after my accident, my whole attitude changed. It completely changed. And my attitude was, you got to give it back, and give it back in a very nice, intelligent, well thought out way. And I did that. I've been doing it ever since. One of the first things is that I invited 7 people to come over to my house in Sun Valley who were all leaders in real estate. They were all in their 40s and what have you, 50s. Sam Zell, Ken Leventhal, George Ardress. These are names that we know in the business. You people may not know them. And we had a meeting that lasted till 3 in the morning. Someone said, let's do it again. And we've done it again and again and again in Sun Valley. We've done it in Aspen. We did it in California. And we've now brought it to Chicago. And we've done it 35 consecutive years, never missed a year. And now it's called the Marshall Bennett Classic, and it's run, financed, and really led by Sam Zell, who's now become a very illustrious developer, and who has bought the Chicago Waldorf Astoria. And it's led by Peter Lindman, who is the man who bought real estate to Wharton and made it one of the greatest real estate schools in the United States, and who helped us get started. Most important thing in my experience is creating a school of real estate, because when Lou and I started, we made a lot of mistakes. There were no such things as an MBA, and Chicago is the biggest transactional city in the United States, perhaps in the country, in the world. And therefore, we felt there should be a very good real estate school. So I went to the University of Chicago, which was my alma mater, and they threw me out. And the dean said, we don't believe in real estate as an art or as a science. In fact, we're not so sure it's even legitimate. And I went to Northwestern, and the dean there, who I know very well, said to me, we teach securitization. That's going to be the next greatest thing in the world. I said, what is securitization? He says, we take mortgages, we bundle them together, and we chop them, we sell this to this. I said, that doesn't sound good to me. Well, that was the start of the recession, if you will. And I don't think he's selling securitization anymore. And so I invited Peter Lindman, who happened to be in Chicago, to come over with me, and we sat down and we developed a school. We raised $11 million, and we hired a professor from Harvard and a professor from Yale. And then we had 12 adjunct professors, people who ran law or business practice, as professors in their profession. And we developed 2 degrees. One is a Master in Business Administration in real estate. which is an overall view of real estate, but really is not for the practitioner. Then we developed what's called MRED, which is a Master's in Real Estate Development, and where you learn how to be a contractor, an architect. We don't learn to be an architect, we learn what the architect's position is in real estate. And it's been very successful. We've won some contests where we've beaten Wharton, which makes me feel very good. But there are 200 real estate schools in the United States, and we've been rated number 10. And for a school that's only 12 years old, to be rated 10 out of 200 is pretty good. And we think we're on the right track. I think if you talk about legacy, I think the school is probably the best thing, and it's the most exciting thing for me. I think building Suntex was a great experience, and building in 8 states was a great experience. We built 26 industrial parks altogether, some good, some bad, like everything else. You know, there's a saying in the Bible that you go from defeat to defeat, and finally you go to something positive. If you've been defeated enough times, I would think that the legacy is the Marshall Bennett Classic, which is a meeting of all these leaders of industry in real estate, and the continuity of that, which will probably go on. The school, which no question will go on, and the fact that we built something of the nature and size of Suntex, that's a pretty good legacy. I suppose so. I'm a happy guy. I really am. I think I am anyway. I don't know if my family would agree with that, but I think I am. And happiness is a wonderful thing. It means you gotta love someone. You gotta love your wife. You gotta love your kids. You gotta love your grandchildren. And I mean, with love, I mean, you gotta put up when you have to. You support them when you have to. Not that you have to, but you want to. And I think that's a great thing. And I've enjoyed, our grandchildren, my daughter's niece and nephew, my other daughter's kids, are wonderful kids, and they're going to be so very successful in life. And I'm just getting a big kick out of both of them. We were a small family. There's only 7 of us all together, so we don't make up a big crowd. What I'm saying is that if you're put on this earth, you ought to make a contribution to your family, to your community, to society that improves the world better than if you weren't there. In other words, you got to make a little contribution. I don't care what it is. And if you do that, if everybody did that, we'd have a much better world.